We're on.
Huh?
We're on air. Yes, we are on air. Good evening to the listeners and viewers.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Mek We Chat. Like my clock is kind of late this evening, but we are on. For another edition, it's a rainy Thursday evening. They tell us that a tropical wave is affecting the weather. And so just across most of the region this evening, you're going to get some showers, maybe scattered ones and some thunder. And the dead of night, that is great, won't you say?
Really?
Yeah.
They
I'm Jerry
have it
George.
nice.
Oh, good. I'm Jerry George, welcoming you to this another edition of Mek We Chat. And certainly we invite you, you're home, you can probably go out, call a friend, tell them to join us, whether it's on Facebook or otherwise, join us for another edition of Mek We Chat when we look at the issues across the region, across the world, and make some sense of them for you. We want you to participate, and the easiest way to do that is via Facebook. So join us there. Our producer is Beverley Sinclair in New York on this Independence Day is Margaret Francis. George is at the control. Am I missing somebody here? I am not seeing. Just us here at the moment, I guess. I don't see the rest of the suspects. Probably haven't arrived as yet. Yes. So take it away, Bev.
Good evening. I always to say my own good evening and welcome to all those who tend to join us on Group Chat. There is always so much going on in this region, and we need to keep informed so that we can take the necessary action to right the wrongs and put things on a better path for those who will be coming after us, our children and our grandchildren. Margaret, some show off, you see, with grandchildren.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, but
some could talk about it. Others just live it.
But yes, so we have a very, very full menu this evening. But
here comes Ati.
The menu, congratulations are really in order for two of our suspects. Suspect Janet Vera is now the president of the Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
Wow.
In Montego Bay, Jamaica.
Very good.
Yes, so we share in the excitement with her. Let's say congratulations to Janet.
Yeah, congrats, Janet.
Very
Absolutely
hardworking young woman. She's a philanthropist. She does a lot to help enfranchise children their education. Yes. Yeah, she does a lot to help disenfranchised children with their education. She's a journalist, she's a tourism writer, she's very busy. And she has been a part of the Chamber of Commerce for a number of years. First vice president, and the president resigned suddenly. So she was elevated to the post of president until the elections next year. So congrats, Janet. This is congratulations number one. And congratulations number two, we hear that suspecting St. Vincent is a grandfather again. Boy, he's getting old,
I'm telling you.
Whatever.
I know he can't stop grinning, the proud papa.
Absolutely.
Proud grandpa.
And knowing that is a pair, daughter and son, you could retire now.
Talking about daughter and son is not your children.
I don't care. Really?
No, they're not your children. They're your grandchildren.
No. I agree.
You need to stay in your lane.
I have special rights.
Grandchildren.
Special rights. So whatever you like, special rights. I have the right now to take them, spoil them, and hand them back.
Listen, as far as far as I know, the children have 4 grandparents. So I don't know why they're behaving like it's well.
Who I want to claim?
Parents.
Who I want to claim is the business. I claim it.
But congratulations to the second
You mean
generation.
after all of that, just is to get congratulations, man? After all of that,
Yes, but I
where are you?
I am trying to congratulate you on being a grandfather, and you're there behaving like it's your children. So
You understand?
I have to let the viewers and the listeners know that it's not your children.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So you need to.
So what are you saying? I need to go out and make my own?
Well,
Are they gone quiet?
Listen, no. I don't have nothing to say with that. If you want to go out and go make your own, you surely don't need
Exactly. You're welcome to do that.
Hey, well, they're gone quiet, they do.
Absolutely do not need my permission.
Well, Ati
pleaded the fifth in the background.
Oh, the fifth man.
And that is why we do it. Oh,
Ati brings a gift, comes there and gifts.
No,
can't
Ati, that's not right. That's not right at all. That's not right.
Yes.
That's not right.
Yes. And I see.
All right. All right.
Stop
You
that.
know?
Did George say something?
No, I was paying attention to Ati and the mangoes. I mean, geez. I mean, I just finished eating shrimp and I could have eaten mangoes instead. Come on. Hello? Hello? All you guys are gone frozen. What's up?
Ati's frozen.
Ati's frozen.
Bev is frozen.
And Bev is frozen.
Yeah, the rest of us
Really?
seem to be. Ati has been
Okay.
unfrozen.
Yeah.
Bev is not
Yeah,
unfrozen.
unfrozen,
So
yeah.
there's some, yeah.
Ati, I was paying tribute to your mangoes. I said you made me awfully jealous, man.
Oh my! Now I was telling you that the secret. You wanna have a lot of children, eat a lot of mangoes.
Oh, that's how it goes? I know somebody on this field eat mangoes like it. They go
I think that don't work for me. Does not work for me.
Now we know.
That was getting the cat out of the bag, boy.
Does it?
boy.
Ati, does it?
George,
Ati, does it have
George-
anything to do with slipping on slippery mango skin?
I didn't ever have children the way I eat mangoes. It was
Ever help you,
Anyway, along with generous doses of fresh air and exercise.
yes. But George, I see on Facebook, John is adding to the congratulations, you know. He's congratulating the West Indies. And I don't know if we should include it here, you
Oh,
know.
please, Ali, please, do.
West Indies beat Afghanistan.
I said, please, do.
And that was the last match, wasn't it?
Yes, it was the last match.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank God.
John.
Well, come on. I mean, come on, guys. You've heard the old adage, better late than never. I mean, you know,
Late?
please.
Late? That is better
Well,
than ever.
I think in this case, if you go to tennis, you'll get another adage. Start early at 15 years.
Isn't that something to be excited about?
Yes,
what a girl.
yes, that is
what a
something to be
girl.
excited about.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Although my own feeling on that one is that we need to learn when to go.
Mm-hmm.
And Vienna should not be beaten by Coco. Absolutely not. And it's something that a lot of our sport people, business people, politicians just don't seem to get in this color skin. We don't know when to leave.
Yeah.
Don't know when to leave. And that's what it's like you say, why was Usain running the last race that he ran? Why did he? It's not
Yes.
necessary.
One more.
Yeah, I always think there's one more. But somebody who angling to beat you one more.
Exactly.
You remember with Tyson, Douglas who?
But you know, there are also some important lessons for us from the Women's World Cup in terms of football and women and gender and equal treatment and equal pay for equal work and so on and so on. There's some really interesting issues there.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And if you look at the teams that have made it into the Final Four, they're all European. I don't know what that says, but
Exactly.
it must say something.
Exactly.
You know, they're all European.
Yes. Yeah, we need to make cricket black again.
Add to that Indians have given Lara
An honorary doctorate.
an honorary doctorate. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Was he in hospital the other day, Jerry?
Say again?
Was he in hospital a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah. A couple of days. Yeah, just about a week ago, I think it was. Yeah. There was one side that said he wasn't, and it was. But I looked at all the reports, and it seemed that he had some incident. Because he himself came out after and said that he was okay.
Okay.
But all this happened in India.
So he's joined Skerritt with the honorary doctorate from India?
I listen, when it comes to cricket, you cannot beat Indian, what must I call it? Indians are just crazy about cricket. So I prefer to get an honorary doctorate for cricket out of India. Because you know it means something.
Yeah. I defy you to tell me what Skerritt got his doctorate for.
I knew, I just don't remember now.
I don't remember.
Never declared?
He never.
He never said?
Oh, he never said.
Oh, okay.
That's why I'm coming up blank.
Yeah, because I'm thinking I would have known, indeed.
And here I am blaming my memory that I don't remember. All right.
Do you remember the name of the university that gave him the doctorate?
No.
So you see how significant it is? It's called Lovely University.
That's what it's called? Seriously?
No. He's being facetious.
And it's not listed. It doesn't appear in the first 1,500 of Indian universities.
Oh my
God, it'll be ridiculous now.
You can check it, Jerry. You're the journalist.
No. I know. It's how you put out that fact so nicely. And it's lovely. Okay, all right.
I tell you, man.
All right. Yes, but we have a lot of stuff on the menu this evening. And talking about universities, we want to talk about that fourth youth is going to Antigua. We want to look at the 4th of July. And Margaret, we're not celebrating this one with you. We're celebrating with CARICOM.
Stop up there.
It's CARICOM Day. And we want to look at the Dominicans calling for electoral reform. And if we have time, we're going to look at that Grenada arbitration, where it is going, where it has hit the country, and what may come out of it. So while we're on to university, you know, we have a regional institution called the University of the West Indies. It has three landed campuses in Trinidad, in Barbados, and in Jamaica. And now it is having a landed campuses where you have your halls of residence, you have the faculty, you have a whole university town, as they usually turn out to be. It's a landed campus. So Antigua is now going to house the 4th landed campus of the University of the West Indies. Like it or not, just bring one home. All the naysayers, all the critics.
Well, it makes you wonder because...
Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Yeah, but there was a lot of stuff going on in the background saying that there were people against them, but the Vice Chancellor said that is not true.
Well, you don't expect the Vice Chancellor to say it's true.
Well, I expect the Vice Chancellor not to say anything, preferably in TR, but he made a categorical statement. It is not true. It's not that he refused to say it, you know. He spoke to the issue. And in this business of public relations, it's two different things.
Yeah, I mean, I hear that, but I don't expect him to admit, but I wouldn't be surprised that he will have naysayers, in the
Listen,
background.
I hear you. I'm speaking as a PR person. The fact that he spoke directly to it is what I am taking off from it. And I am not even saying that he might necessarily even be telling us, but that's what he said. He's on record saying that. That's my point.
Yeah.
I think there's another consideration. He needed to create a distraction from something that could be the death knell of Antigua and Barbuda, as we know it, which is the massive Yida Chinese-owned development in a marine reserve, which will dwarf anything that Sanford did in Antigua in terms of areas of land occupied, which will expose the entire northeast coast of Antigua to massive heavy construction, including the construction of aluminum plants, cement plants.
Really? Are you serious?
Yida,
Yeah.
YIDA development. Yes. And he triggered it.
365 beaches, that's the end of that story, right?
Antigua is 105 square miles.
No, I'm saying, but the both 365 beaches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the
But
beaches.
if you put that kind of development there, that's it. Start to take out beaches.
Well, all his, I mean, see, all of this is happening now. Even while he's talking about bringing in UE, he's, which kind of gives him, as you say, the kudos. This other thing has been rammed through and pushed through, and construction has begun.
But Ati, what is interesting?
5,000 Chinese citizens will end up living in Antigua.
Wow. But listen to this. The campus buildings that are being used are part of a failed Chinese, I think, a CBI program. Mm-hmm. And it's some $25 million worth of property.
Yeah.
And it is in an effort to press those into service that he has been pushing to get the UE campus. Otherwise, the buildings are there. It's like an embarrassment.
Well, it's a similar situation with Barbados, Coverley, exactly. And the Ross University.
Exactly, same thing. Yes.
The government was able to bail out one of its ardent and financial supporters and backers who had these unoccupied buildings sitting there. So they brought in a university, full occupancy. So, I mean, everything that glitters is definitely not
gold.
And and when there is really good news coming from really awful people, you really have to look behind the news. What is it that this guy doesn't want us to pay attention to? And that's it. The YIDA, YIDA development, including offshore islets and offshore islands, marine.
And they're moving in the same direction of getting the kind of money pumped into Antigua that they will never be able to pay back for. Because that's it.
That's the point, Jerry. That's why I say
it's the game plan.
The death knell. Because Antigua's size alone can never accommodate economic activity required to repay that. So guess who ends up owning Antigua?
Yes, that's the point. But what I find amazing, right, is that we see it happening. It's happening in Africa. It's happening in, not Indonesia, one of those islands out there. I think it's Indonesia, actually. And we still walk in it with our eyes wide open shut.
That's right. And we're holding CARICOM meetings and OECS heads meetings and going through all the trappings and pretense and pretext. But these things are happening. We are handing over these islands on a platter to the most avaricious and aggressive consumer of cultures and people in the world today, the Chinese.
Yeah.
But sometimes you ask yourself, when they go to sessions, like, for example, they are at the heads of government, Don't these things bother the other heads? Is it a cause for concern? You mean they wish it to them, right?
Of course.
That is scary, though.
The guys are rubbing their hands saying, me next.
Exactly. They're all doing the same thing. So why should it bother any of them?
I mean, global ports is such another glaring example. Wherever global ports have popped up, they've caused concern and there have been questions, whether here or New Zealand or where. But we still walking to get global ports to take over our ports. Some of this just shocks me. I mean, it just beats me all ends up, to use a cricketing term.
Yeah,
I think what we also look at it from the perspective of money. It takes a lot to get a university going, and it will take maybe 2 decades or 3 decades before it becomes profitable, because you have to build up that student population, and that not going to happen quickly. Meaning the top dog in Antigua, aka the Prime Minister, Top Dog has announced that he's going to be starting with a cohort of 800 students that are now at tertiary institutions in Antigua, because some of those courses were like the 2-year courses from UWI that they were doing anyway. So those 800 students are supposed to be the guinea pigs for the Five Islands campus in Antigua. But that raises several questions for me. These students would have already made preparations for the 3rd year of their study if they had planned to continue. So what is all those preparations which have already been made? Those who did not plan to do the 3rd year immediately because of financial or other constraints, is he going to give them all scholarships so that they can go to university? So in addition to the setup cost of the university, which runs into a few millions of dollars, you're going to add on to that scholarships. And I hear there are 10 scholarships in it for Dominicans already. So I feel, right, so I feel you're in thing. So you are offering these scholarships to get students into the university. And you wouldn't even have to stick a bit, but the 800 tertiary students that are in Antigua are not going to become students at UWI Five Islands campus. That is not going to happen. Okay.
So,
but not only that, they offer. Sorry, Margaret, go ahead.
Oh no! I was just going to ask. So, what's the anticipated start date for this university? For this
September.
campus?
Whenever
this September coming?
Yes, this September.
September 29th.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is it going to be like how the other 3 campuses are theoretically specialized, have different areas of focus, or is Antigua going to be a general area of focus?
Well, that question of specialization, Margaret, is an interesting one, because some students at the campus in Barbados aired their view on that issue. And they're contending that when the university started, Jamaica was seen as the school of medicine. Trinidad was seen mostly for engineering, and Barbados took the mantle for law and ran with it.
Right.
What the students are saying is that what has happened to UWI is that all of the campuses have become too generalized. And they're saying, if you start in Antigua on the basis of this just basic generalization, they haven't added anything to the mix. You understand? And more importantly, you're talking about 800 students, right? There are only 3 areas that they're going to focus on for the start: hospitality, nursing, and I keep forgetting what the third one is.
It's funny, I was thinking that hospitality was probably an area that they should develop.
Yeah, but if they want to become the hospitality school, for me, they should go all out on that. I have on that. You understand me?
Yeah.
But they're only doing hospitality because of some of the things that I've been saying. There's some more hotels to be built and stuff like that. In other words, it is just fortuitous that the subjects that they are going to focus on at this point are things that are already happening. So there's no thought as to what this campus ought to become, where its focus ought to be. And when I listened to the Vice Chancellor speak, I could tell that really and truly, I have to download some bits of his speech. I keep saying that. Really and truly, this was just to say you're doing something. There is no serious thought behind it.
But Jerry, as you say, you know, going all out on hospitality wouldn't be a bad idea at all.
I think it's a brilliant idea.
Considering that the focus, and not only that, we have a thing, you know, we like to talk about how many new hotels we're getting, but most times when these hotels come in, you know, all the top end jobs don't go to us.
No, it can. Because when you're talking about a 5-star hotel, you think of the chef alone.
Right.
As what is this? Don't even talk about the executive chef. Just like go down a level of the sous chef. They are not easy to find and they are expensive. And therefore the region has to take most of those people from outside of the region.
Correct. And which means that there is room to provide that kind of training, and maybe that campus can focus on that.
Well, but the other thing there, Margaret, but you just make this point quickly. Just one second. The other thing about that is that sometimes they make the nationals feel that once the business comes to the country, that the country has the right to have first preference to who gets employed, qualified or not. And that causes its own level of confusion. So I agree. Right. Let's go towards hospitality. Ati.
Yeah, I just was going to remind us that in the English-speaking CARICOM region, we already have 5 hospitality institutes.
There you go.
Full-fledged, that are operating, some of which have developed a worldwide reputation. I'm speaking of there's an institute in Bahamas, there's one in Jamaica, there's one in Trinidad, there's one in Barbados. So that's what you know what you see, it is this scattered, repetitive, duplicative approach to doing things. Everybody wants an international airport. Everybody wants this. Everybody wants that. And so we keep doing the same things in each of these tiny little spaces. And the point I think Margaret is raising, hey, look, that's an area that really requires some deepened attention.
Right.
Wouldn't that suggest that the existing institutes could have been and should have been and maybe still can be encouraged to consolidate in some way and to, you know, and to maybe even specialize within the sector, within the area of training that has to do with hospitality, which is such a broad area anyhow. But instead, everybody wants their own panani.
That's the trouble.
At home.
That's the trouble. That's exactly where the problem is. Because I didn't know they had 5. I mean, you're in the business, so you would know.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah, you have 5 of those things. I mean, each of them in a similar way could take the development of the sous chef, the executive chef, the this, the that, because there's a huge market for it. That's right. You know, I was looking at some data the other day when I read how many rooms in the Caribbean go empty per night. It is crazy.
Of course.
Especially when you hear them boasting that they're going to be adding new hotels and how much 100 rooms. And you hear something like, I think it's 85%, some really ridiculous figure of the number of rooms that go empty in the Caribbean. It is scary.
But why is that? Is there a reason for that?
Yes, there's a very good reason. The Caribbean has a tired tourism product.
Very tired.
Sea, sun, and sand do not work anymore.
Nope.
The tourism industry and tourism and travelers have changed. People are looking to get away from sea level rise, climate change. They're looking to get away from sand, cancer, skin cancer,
plastics,
and so on. They're looking for adventure, soft adventure. They're looking to hike. They're looking to connect with culture. And that is all the growing tourism points in the world have made that shift. But no, we like it so.
But Ati, when you look at the people who are involved in tourism over the last decade at least, it cannot change. It could not change. It just simply could not. When I saw that data, to me, the most damning bit of evidence for what has been tourism for the last how much years is what happened 2 years ago when the hurricanes wiped out a lot of the business here, especially in the north.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly, the tourism organizations were scrambling. Why were they scrambling? Because they suddenly had this real huge number of people who were canceling. Why were they canceling? Because they thought the Caribbean had been destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is the most damning bit of information about our lack of really positioning and branding this region properly. They had to scramble. There was the thing in Grenada. They had to scramble to stop the bleeding from people.
State of the tourism.
Right, industry conference.
The State of the Industry Conference it's a brilliant event, but like with so many things in the Caribbean, just poorly executed, because people don't want to deal with issues. Everybody just wants to be nice, pat themselves on the back, and go back home.
But you see what we're talking about.
They can come back.
Exactly, Bev. You put your finger on it. In other words, who makes the decision that tourism is now the El Dorado for the Caribbean? And who moves money and resources into that industry? And who fails to realize you get more tourists in, you get more people. What is one of the things that you must provide with people who come to your country?
Food.
Right. Our food import bill grew from $1.2 billion in the year 2000 to $4.8 billion.
And CARICOM that is a subject for CARICOM right now at the meeting that they're at.
But are you hearing an equal amount of focus on producing more food?
You know, it's funny because I heard parts of the opening ceremony yesterday. And there were two things that everybody seemed to talk about. One was climate change and the new funds that are available.
The funds.
Right? And how to access that fund.
Exactly.
And the second thing that came up a lot of times was security. Not food security, but security.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and they talked about crime and stuff. And the speakers that I heard, so that include Chastanet, the UN Secretary General. That's basically those were the key takeaways coming out of what they talked about, pretty much.
Let me tell you something. When you hear them say security,
let's take a break and come back.
Okay, and come back, sure. Mm-hmm.
Yes, please. Thank you, George.
My name is Kizzy Marisha. I've been a confectionery maker 16 years now. Well, as a child growing up, my grandmom always make fudge and always make any candies, cakes, as I remember. And I always have an interest in that, you know? It's like when I'm in the kitchen, I'm very happy. If you're making coconut fudge, you just grate the coconut, you squeeze the milk, and then you strain it, and then you add your sugar, and then you put it to boil. And then after, when you reach a certain stage, you get thick. So you got to beat it. Then after, when you beat it, you pour it out. And then wait for a few minutes to get hard. And then you slice it, you cut it, and then after you break it up, and then you package it. Yeah. Providing food for 16 years now. I remember when I just go dropping in the fudge, I was a bit younger too. And I met Miss Harris. So I went and I said, you know, I have a product here, some fudge. I was wondering if you'll be interested to take some fudge or candies from me. I showed her, she said, you look very nice, you know? So she said, I'll try it. So she told me to bring back some another day. So that's when I started, but Miss Harris took it from me. And then they would start, so, you know. I had a good relationship with them. Of course, I felt special, you know, at least somebody taking my thing local and, you know, other people can see it, because if it's, I just have it, you know, much people come, a lot of people comes in, they're foreigners. So it was kind of special, you know, and especially when I go in there, all the workers is very nice to me. If I pass and they say, Kizzy, you bringing anything this week for the thing finish? You know, they always look out for me. That's what I like. The atmosphere is nice in there. My name is Kizzy Marshall. I work with Food Fair to provide you with sweet treats.
A natural disaster can change your life in minutes. Preparation is the best protection for your family and business. Prepare now. Create a disaster plan and make sure everyone knows what to do. Store water, non-perishable food, and medication. Remember basic emergency supplies such as batteries and flashlights. Trim overhanging trees. If trees near power lines are unsafe to trim, call Grenlec at 237 for assistance or advice. Install surge protectors to safeguard your electrical devices against outages and intermittent surges. For more information, visit grenlec.com.
Grenlec, energizing our Grenada.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
And folks, just before we get back to the usual suspects here, I want to acknowledge a couple of people out there on Facebook. Claude Butner is saying good evening. And John says, unfortunately, this has to do with the debate you guys were having on the hotels and employment. He says, unfortunately, all-inclusive five-star hotels actually bring very little cash to the people on the islands. You guys want to take him up on that? I see.
No, it's true. It's true. Most of the five-star hotels, when people book for them, they pay for them in some company overseas. The money hardly ever gets here.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens, they only bring on shore what they need to bring on shore. So salaries, whatever they need to pay for locally, but the bulk of the money never comes on shore.
Yeah.
And so that is why some people talk about tourism as an export product. You have to ask, when you think about that, you have to ask yourself, really? You know? But the question of security that Margaret spoke to a while ago, sometimes they jump at security. I'll tell you why. A lot of the security issues are around the airports. And that's where they get the chance to tax us more. So they like to jump onto security because it's one of the, they don't tell you, it's one of the letting ins for more taxation. All right?
Okay.
So.
Justification. Yes, so we will all be looking at UA's fourth expanded campus in an era when more universities are offering courses and degrees online. The artist spoke earlier about the changing generation. This generation is different from the ones before, you know, where everyone packed up and go and live on campus for 3 years. People don't do that anymore because a lot of young people nowadays have to work to pay their way through school. So live on a campus just doesn't cut it, except you have parents or somebody pay for it for you. So a lot of universities now are offering bachelor's, master's, and even PhDs. In the cases you can do online. So,
in fact, I made that point about our own home campus here. Well, what do they call them again? I never remember the name.
Yeah, the open campus.
Open campus, yes, open campus. They are multiplying the size of the one that they have here in St. Vincent. They've gone up a couple of stories, etc. And from the time they started, I said, but in this day and age, is that the best use of money? Because let me tell you something. Majority of businesses today are not building their own real estate. They prefer to lease it and all the rest of it. Because it makes more sense. And anytime they feel like getting up and go, they can get up and go. There's a lot of reasons why they don't do it. But you find that institutions like this are putting so much money on the ground in the earth. Money which I think they should use for other aspects of development. But again, it's the people who are driving this and their ages and their view of the world, which hasn't changed.
The ages and view of the world, the age maybe. The view of the world, their view of the world stop in the 105 square miles.
But notice what I said, it hasn't changed. Well, that's the top dog. The trouble with top dog is this, right? Listen to this. Top dog is fighting to get to university. He's fighting to buy Scotiabank, and I hear he has spread that out now because I think he's realizing it's a lost cause on his own. So he's trying to enlist the other members of the currency union to buy it. But the most ludicrous part of it I read today is that he's making this point that if Caribbean gets a bank, it will sort out our corresponding bank institution. I mean, that is one of the dumbest things I ever hear. He does not understand. I say this blunt and straight. He does not understand the issue.
You think he doesn't understand, or he's being deliberately obtuse?
No, man. The amount of times he has repeated this, he can't be, he does slip. He does not understand.
He's playing to a certain constituent, you know.
Yeah, but what to the rest?
Yeah, so
even to the people who
just like your prime minister, they don't pay attention to the rest. This is all a numbers game. You're just making enough people happy for you to win the next.
Yeah, Beverly. But the
nobody
thing about
care about the rest.
The regulators from the other banks will also hear this foolishness.
Yes, a lot of people will hear it, and it
ain't gonna go nowhere.
A lot of people who hearing it have no vote in Antigua, so he don't care.
Oh, really? So just about getting his vote.
The ones that he is trying to appease, that he's trying to make them believe that once you buy up the bank, you have no problem with your Western Union and your money transfer. Those are the ones in the 105 square mile who have vote.
And let me tell you something.
Once you get enough of those to buy into that argument, he good. You don't
listen to me. Antigua is one of the places where Western Union actually left. Yeah. About 2-3 years ago, Western Union shut the doors and left. They're talking about going back into Antigua. But trust me, when they go back into Antigua, the rules are going to be even more stringent because of why they had to leave. Now, these are some of the things that speak to the issue of correspondent banks. Mm-hmm.
Listen, we're not talking about correspondent bank this evening.
No, we're not, but I just had to make that point.
Yeah, but what you're saying makes perfect sense, but Top Dog not trying to make sense of correspondent banking. He's trying to get enough people to believe that he can fix the problem, so they will continue to vote for him. That is all.
Well, let me see how much of the other islands decide that they want to buy into banks. Let me see.
That is his aim and his objective.
You see, until you notice how when Trump goes somewhere, let's say Europe or UK, they have big demonstrations against him. You know, people take to the streets and and so to other leaders and so on. Do you think there's ever going to be a day in my lifetime when a visiting prime minister from a neighboring country will meet a demonstration reminding him that we are following his nonsense and we will have none of it?
Dead right. Well, I think that
that will ever happen.
Dominica has set the pace by going to Antigua to campaign.
Yeah.
so possible. It is possible now. Because that is crazy. You taking a political campaign meeting offshore. Amazing. I find it amazing.
But you got it right. You got it right, Jerry. It's because the reason for it is because he doesn't have the support he had. And he has had experiences in other islands where he's gone to hold meetings, and the audience has been so parlous and so meager that he has decided to bring his audience. So he brought 200 people.
200 people. I find that amazing.
Yeah.
What? Wait. Back up here. So he traveled to another island.
Antigua.
So he
Last
traveled to
weekend.
Antigua and he brought his crowd
200
with him.
people. Yes.
Yes, he brought his.
Rent a crowd.
Yeah, he brought his crowd with him. He
Alright.
chartered a ferry. He put them on board. He gave everybody who now understand.
I thought it was a 747 charter.
No, well, he can't land here.
You can't land in Dominica. So.
I guarantee you, if we had an international airport, that would have been his preferred mode of transport.
Yeah.
But the people also got $400 US spending money. The exit tax of 10 US was waived here.
Oh.
So it was a net export of, we calculate, close to $1 million. Gaston is smiling. Gaston have nothing bad to say about that. You want to bring $1 million EC dollars into my little economy?
Sure, why not? Bring it.
Sound systems, buses, renting hotels, restaurants. Wonderful. This is tourism.
Yeah.
Yes, and that is on the menu, you know, because while Dominicans at home are calling for electoral reform, leader of one of the main political parties, he said, all you can stay, they call for electoral reform. I go to find my own voters.
I go do what?
I'm going to find my own voters.
Yeah, man. Oh, yeah.
And that is what he's done for the previous 2 elections. He's gone to find his own voters. And he gave them money and said, no, you come in home. Here's a ticket. And here's $400 spending money. Here's the date on which you travel. Here's the date on which you leave. They've done it in 2009, 2014. But the overseas voters in the metropole have been reached out to by the opposition. And so there has been a chipping away, a significant chipping away at the number of persons willing to participate in that bribery and treating arrangement. So he's picking the fruit closer to home. Antigua, Virgin Islands.
It's about time people began to feel ashamed of themselves when they play yard boy to these politicians. They really need to feel shame and stop doing it. But after a while, we have talked about it before. Electoral reform in Dominica is right now. And it's interesting that it's not even being led by a political party or by politicians. You want to just tell us a little bit about the issues that are driving this call for electoral reform in Dominica?
Well, first of all, let's talk about the who, and because it's interesting because it's an NGO, it's a civil society organization that was formed with the precise purpose of driving electoral reform as its agenda. The Concerned Citizens Movement is a movement of ordinary citizens, ordinary persons that came together and said, now enough is enough. We cannot depend on political parties or the government or even the professionals like the Bar Association to do this. We must do this ourselves. And they just started holding meetings, little meetings. They got a radio program. And then they actually got to the point where another level of civil society, this time, trade unions, professionals, the Manufacturers Association, the Evangelical Association, the Christian Council, and so on, they came together as a separate body of civil society and did a significant amount of research which backed up the claims of the first NGO, which is, number one, that in fact, the existing laws for the governance of elections in Dominica does allow for the list to be cleaned and does allow for a voter's ID card to be prepared and handed out to all legitimate voters. Because interestingly, these were the 2 points on which the government was pushing back. The Labour Party was saying, no, we have to go to Parliament and change the law and we have to do all these things. And they've used that as an argument to delay, saying we can't do this, we can't do the ID cards, we have to go and change the law. When in fact, the attorneys who are part of that other NGO grouping with the churches and so on have in fact unequivocally established that in fact the existing law does give authority for the preparation of ID cards and the cleansing of the lists. And so the movement has grown beyond that initial exercise and wonderfully has grown and maintained its distance from being political, from being a political party, from that kind of.
I love that. I actually love that.
Yeah. So people are feeling freer to come out and participate. Last Sunday we had a rally, and the attendance was astounding. It was astounding. Persons who had not ever been on public platforms before came to the microphone and delivered their messages of solidarity. So it's good all around. And so right now it's been narrowed down to the two elements of reform that are being called for: the ID card and the cleansing of the list. And all the other issues are there, but they will be dealt with subsequently. And this group of churches and trade unions and so on gave the Labour Party government an ultimatum, said you will not call the next election until this is done.
Seriously?
Seriously?
And
I have some
when
hope
is
for
the
the
next?
Caribbean.
Yeah, when is the next election due?
It's due. It can
Next
be
year.
May,
March next year.
March next year.
Okay.
So-
And has the government responded?
The government has responded not directly to them, but their response has been to try to mobilize their people. You see, those people are crazy. None of these things can be done unless we go to parliament, and they are whenever we go to parliament, they are preventing us from doing it. They're really trying to shift the blame and pass the buck and create diversions. Because they do know that if the lists are cleansed and you back away and you get away from the 72,000 person voters registration list in a country which has no more than 60 or 65,000 people, then in fact the opportunity for sending Beverley to vote as Margaret and sending Jerry to vote as George is evaporate, because there's no such. The names of dead people that are still there, people who died 30 years ago, are still on the list. Their names have not been removed.
Actually, you know what's the scariest bit in your situation, I find, is not even sending Margaret to vote as Beverley. It's the fact that Beverley could vote in more than one constituency.
And to vote in more than one constituency.
That, to me, is the scary bit.
And there are numerous cases reported of that kind of fraud, which is really what it is voter and electoral fraud. So that the government knows that is how they won, particularly the last election. Because remember, the last election, only 617 votes separated the winners from the losers, in terms of political parties. And in 5 constituencies accounted for that 617 votes. So it's on average, just over 100 votes in 5 constituencies meant the difference. But the significance of it is this. For that election, the Labour Party brought in 6,500 imported voters. Wow. And notwithstanding that,
this thing got so close.
They only won by 617 votes. So they know a cleansing of the list and attention to voter ID cards, which means that if you've been away, according to our laws, from Dominica for 5 years constantly and not come back, verified that you are, and re-registered or reactivated your registry, you will not be allowed to vote. That's what our laws say. Say 10 years, but we say 5. And so a lot of the people they have brought back are people who've never been back to Dominica for 20 or more years.
Wow.
So they are illegal. but their names are still on the list.
And they are still allowed, and they are allowed to vote, of course.
And they are allowed to vote. So cleansing of the list, they know is a definitive formula for them to be out of it, out of the thing. And so right now their position is to try to push back on these things. The momentum, I would say, has shifted, and you can see now there's a growing, realization among a greater portion of the population. We need to do this, and we can do it. We have the time to do it before the next election, and so the insistence on it being done is taking on more credibility. What's interesting is that just the final point is this: it's interesting that the churches, along with all bishops, etc., and the trade unions and so on, said if the lists are not cleansed and voter ID are not prepared before the next election, the country will descend into chaos. And this is not political parties saying that. And that is really, I think, the real force of the movement at this time. And so it's going to be really interesting to see who outlasts whom on this. Skerritt tried something recently. 2 weeks ago, he said, I'm going to invite the Commonwealth Secretariat and the OAS come in and give advice and so on. But it is precisely the Commonwealth Secretariat and the OAS for the last 2 elections that have said, your elections are free, but they're not fair. They're not fair because you have this bloated list. They're not fair because you have no way of verifying who's a legal voter. They're not fair because you are not allowing the opposition to use the radio station that is owned by the state, and so on and so on. And they said, you have to clean up your act.
Yeah. So, let me tell you, I am so happy to see that it's not a political movement which is driving this, because just recently, just this week, there was talk in Grenada of the silence of the NGOs in the midst of various types of ills and various types of issues to be addressed, and not from a political perspective, but somehow the non-governmental organizations and the professional groups, they're all silent. I am personally tired of meeting these people in various different situations and hearing the excuses they make, why they don't want to speak. All excuses. And they meet them and they say, how come we don't hear you guys talking about this on Thursday night? And you're not talking about that on Thursday night. So we are supposed to deal with all the issues here. And everybody else out there take a comfort zone and not be disturbed. So I'm very happy to see what is happening in Dominica. It gives hope. It tells us that NGOs are not dead. Need to be reorganized and get some life and get some new people and stop recycling the same old faces that have been there over and over and who have now run out of steam or just don't care anymore.
I have to say this. I have looked at Dominica at different groupings, Facebook pages, and a lot of individuals in Dominica who are getting up and speaking out on their own. I love that. There are so many, I could think about 5 of them, and from time to time they get up and they speak. And this is what we need. In too many of the other countries, everybody wants to sit behind and hopefully push the rest of us forward for them. That's not going to work.
Yes. Because nobody wants to offend. Nobody wants to speak against the party that forms the government. And everybody just wants to be on the right side of everything, But yet still they want change,
That's what tell you they want change, but they behave as if the authority is both omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent. That is how they behave. That these people, they're such, the thing annoys me no end.
Oh, yes, it
really annoys me.
Oh, yes, it does.
You understand?
I would think that if you are a party supporter, I am not. for good governance. I'm not for no political party. But if you are a party supporter and you wish to see your party form the government forever, you should be one who pushing for good governance and who pushing to ensure that things are done correct. But how it seems like is even within the circle of the supporters is just the same plate of food mentality. Nobody cares about anything as long as a little plate of food and they're happy.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. So
I
what's
have
happening in Dominica, very inspiring.
Yeah, seriously. That you have a concerned citizens movement who has made that poll, I just think is brilliant. At you showing us something there?
Haitian proverbs, and one of them is quite pertinent to this point of our conversation. A single finger cannot eat okra.
For
Sure,
truth.
right.
So
Truth.
come
You have to hold it.
together, come together.
Yeah.
I like that. A single finger cannot eat okra.
Fantastic proverb.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And it's you didn't have to guess what it means. It's just so powerful in
Yeah,
just
and its
so
meaning
powerful.
and everything. Yeah.
Yep. So we are fully behind the citizens of Dominica calling for electoral reform because this thing called democracy, without a proper system for people to express themselves in selecting who they wish to govern the country, if you can't even do that, then you really don't have no democracy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have a confession to make to Jerry, though. I used the full content of your morning program as it relates to your commentary on the Antigua excursion. And
Feel free.
I used it in a program I did today, standing in for somebody. So I really believe that actually you will probably have some difficulty coming here the next time.
I've been warned. I have been warned.
They just became persona non grata.
Yes.
I was not wanted to make any food commentary. I just played it in its entirety, you know. And it was powerful.
I was Wednesday night. I was home, and I just switched the radio station and heard them playing back one of the things, and then it was Margaret. She sent me a note. Oh God, Jerry, I should have cleared this with you. I said, man, just play the thing. The interview with the opposition leader. I said, just play the thing. The whole point of this stuff is to get it out there. Get it out there. I ain't not holding for nothing. You know.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to representation of the people, just like Atherton pointed out that the laws are there on the books. If we would only obey some of these laws that are on the books, elected officials and people in the public service and other people, leading figures, would not be able to get away with the things they're getting away with. We don't need no parliamentary acts. We don't need no constitution change. We just need to enforce the laws that are
already there.
Of course. Just
absolutely
enforce those laws. So what's the next move for the group now, Afi? Because you had a big meeting the other day and that was well attended.
I am not at liberty to disclose.
We will see the action.
You will hear at the right moment.
All right.
Yes. But I guarantee you that there's some really juicy stuff coming up.
Keep us in the loop. Loop us.
We definitely want to be kept in the loop.
Will do, absolutely. As a matter of fact, some of the stuff coming up involves moving your warm bodies to another location. That's a hint.
All of that is in order.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All of that is in order.
No objection, Yana.
You know? Right. So, yes.
We good.
Very good, very good. And while we're speaking about what happens in Dominica affects us elsewhere, it's time for another break. George, it's time for a break before we go on to the
It's time for a break.
For business owners, it's vital that they make efficient use of energy resources. So we're here today to show how Grenlec supports their success. To energize our nation's businesses, Grenlec works closely with them to ensure a positive impact on customer satisfaction, economic development, and the continued growth of our nation. It's all part of the commitment the Grenlec team makes to business owners and residential customers every day.
Grenlec, energizing our Grenada.
Grenadian General Insurance Company, strength and stability. Grenadian General Insurance Company, tell your friends, tell your family. We cover householders comprehensive, motor and even fire too. Contractors all risk burglary, public liability, professional indemnity, directors liability, and wait, we still have more. Come and find out more what you're waiting for.
We are located on Scott Street, St. George's. For more information, call 440-2434.
Tell everybody.
Conveniently located in the Grenada Shopping Center, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
All right, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery, man.
I am, but didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.tv with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair Grenadans will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, you know. Their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Food Fair will deliver to you?
Yep.
Oh, baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Food Fair web store. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
Alrighty, folks, we are back with the usual suspects. Up there on your left, top of the screen, is old Mags out there in the Big Apple. And yours truly in the middle. Then, what do you call that? Plaid? A plaid shirt Mr. George is wearing there this evening? Blue and white. Good to see you. He's in St. Vincent. Bottom of the screen with his goggles, Mr. Atherton Martin, and Artie's out there in Dominica, and then there goes Beverley. Beverley, you're shoulderless tonight. What's going on, girl? You getting fresh or what?
You can't see my shoulder?
Yeah, shoulder. You're exposing yourself, girl.
That's an Obama move.
Obama move, okay.
Yeah. That is good move to follow.
All right, guys, take it away.
Yeah.
Okay. Today is the 4th of July, and while the United States people sing the Star Spangled Banner, CARICOM anthem, we don't even know that. A lot of people don't even know it as an anthem, you know. But there is CARICOM. Yes, CARICOM as an anthem. But that's another story.
It's somewhere Dominican.
Okay. Right. But that's another story. So on a day like today, the CARICOM anthem, you know, we should hear it all over the region, and everybody should be celebrating CARICOM. CARICOM, the birth of the CARICOM community was 45 years ago. It was actually the 1st of July, right? But it was on the 4th.
Yeah.
Yes, so CARICOM community, by signature of the various heads of government, is now 45 years old. And I am sure that the Secretariat would tell you that they've done a lot and achieved a lot over the 45 years. But whatever this lot is that they would want to boast about, it hasn't reached the people as yet. One of the things in the region that people really want is freedom of movement, freedom to trade, freedom just to live within CARICOM without all of these border restrictions and these other restrictions. Who would like to be able to move from country to country with their personal belongings, including their motor vehicles, without having to pay duties on them and behave like you're importing goods, when all you do is traveling from one place to the other. It is freedom of movement, and you have to move if you decide to move from one country to another. Actually, you have to pay duty to bring your personal stuff with you.
Well, they have made it easy to move capital. There's freedom of movement of capital, but not goods and people. So you could send your money anywhere you want, where you can't go.
Yes, but 45 years later, if you want to leave St. Vincent and say, well, I could bring you over to Dominica for a year or 2 years and you're going over there to work on a project, you can't take your car, you can't take your furniture, you can't take a lot of stuff, because you have to pay duty on them to bring them into the country. And yet still we talk about freedom of movement, you know.
Well, there's a more fundamental reason why you can't take them to Dominica. They ain't have nowhere to carry them. There's no transport.
And the house is not yet repaired.
No. Talk about transportation. There's really no.
Look, you throw that on a ferry and you're good to go.
Wait, which ferry? That's my point.
Lovely one.
Still there.
Lovely one is still there, you know.
I know.
Right. So here we are celebrating 45 years of some people doing exactly what they're doing in St. Lucia this week. Get together in some fancy hotel, have some meetings. I was happy to hear Margaret say she saw some of the speeches at the opening ceremony. Margaret is in the United States and she saw it. I've been looking, I won't say I've been searching diligently, but I've been looking for reports on the meeting and I have not seen any. Margaret, you're better than me right here in the Caribbean. You saw something.
Well, you know what it is? So I subscribe to UETV and UETV was carrying it. So, you know, you get the notification every time there's something on this live. So I got the notification and that's how I got it.
Yeah. Maybe I need to subscribe to UETV.
It's Margaret alerted me because I didn't even remember to tell the truth.
Yeah.
You know, Beverly, I don't know if you're aware of this, but within the last 2 months, CARICOM began putting out a weekly report. It's about 15 minutes long, and I think it's called CARICOM 5 in 5, F-I-V-E in the number 5, okay? And when they started, they began by sending these links to me every week, and I thought, whoa, that's good. But for the last few weeks, they haven't been sending it. Instead, they're simply just placing it up on YouTube. So I only happen to find it when I scan through YouTube. I have to scan through YouTube every day because I put my programs up on YouTube. And I'm wondering if this is not some sort of response to what the ECCB has been doing. The ECCB has been putting out a 15-minute package pretty much every week called ECCB Connects, right? And perhaps, I don't know, perhaps this was in preparation for the 45th anniversary of CARICOM. You know, they want to show that they're doing something. I think it's generally accepted that the OECS, even with its faults, I think it's still a lot more prominent than CARICOM in the region. And who knows? They're probably snapping into place. I don't know. What do you think?
It's quite possible. I have not seen any of those features that you talked about.
I posted a number of them on the website when I get them, and I've also played them on the Good Day Good Day Grenada program on a weekday morning. Nicely packaged, and hopefully the next edition will tell a lot about what went on at the conference that's going on right now, hopefully.
The next edition will be the communique, I bet you.
That's
it.
Yeah.
That's it, the communique. No further than that.
And same community, you know, they just fill in the blanks.
Yes, that's what I'm telling you. That's how it's going to be.
You know, if and when they do send that to me, or if I do run across it on YouTube, I'm going to email it out to you guys. And for those of you listening, we're going to put it up on the website as well.
You know, but you know, George, you could set notifications as well. You know, if you follow something, you could set the notification to be notified whenever they update it or they add something new. So that way you don't have to like go searching through for it.
Yeah.
Okay, if you guys hear it smack, crackle, and pops, it's because there's fireworks outside my building.
Oh, yeah.
Could we switch to the New York 4th of July fireworks?
Oh, no. That one hasn't started. But you know, the kids and the people outside, because there's a park outside, so they smack, crackle, and pop their own thing there.
They're celebrating CARICOM Day.
Well,
Yes.
You know, Mark, that just brought back some memories of a few years ago. I was driving into New York on the 4th of July to visit with my mom and dad. And as I drove into the Bronx, I started hearing bang, 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 bang beneath my car. I mean, people on the streets were just putting out these fireworks everywhere. Scared the hell out of me.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because now you don't hear it as much. When I just came here, like between Memorial Day and 4th of July, it starts that time. So just as like, you know, like Carnival with you guys and Calypso and stuff, here, between Memorial Day and now, firecrackers.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So what is the significance of CARICOM to us ordinary people? What is it really? I believe that this movement in Dominica, we need NGOs to get up and put some fire behind CARICOM, because CARICOM 45 years later, wasting time, wasting money. You know, they have every 6 months the chairmanship changes, and they go to whoever is taking over. They go and they have their heads meeting, intercessionary or whatever they call it. They always have some fancy names and fancy titles to put on everything that is done and said. You know, over the 45 years, there are now over 150 institutions within CARICOM. What do these 150 institutions do? We don't know. They're just there.
But that alone tell you something wrong. For the size of the region, I should not think the EU has that number of people, of institutions.
Exactly.
You know, that alone tells you. The other thing that they have a lot of is a lot of commissions. Every time something comes up, there's a new commission.
They just set up one the other day, some commission on the economy, and the people I'm looking at who on that commission, I don't know that any of them have any experience with the economy, because there's not one economy in the region that is doing well enough for you to say, let the person who is guiding this economy guide this commission. In trouble. The single product right now is, you know, passport is the hot seller right now. And there is no strategic economic plan for the region. But they set up a committee with a set of recycled people to do what?
You know, Bev, Jerry just raised a very important point. Jerry was saying that every time something happens, you set up a commission. You know, it's like here, Jerry. Every time you pick your nose, somebody goes to Parliament and comes up with a law that's saying, well, you shouldn't use your right hand, you should use your left hand. You know, that kind of stuff. No, I'm exaggerating there, but you understand what I'm talking about.
Yes, we get it.
Legislation, okay. But then again, look, you also have to look at it from the other side. Maybe it's because the governments have failed to capture the attention of their public. Because how many, look, today CARICOM sent me 3 press releases. One by the Prime Minister of St. Lucia, who I think is going to be the new chairman. One by the outgoing chairman, the guy from wherever.
Thank you.
And another one, the Secretary General. I put all of them up on my website, Bev. All of them, they're there. How many people do you think are going to sit and read those addresses?
The first problem you have is that in most of the positions at CARICOM, a lot of academics or people who have had basically that kind of job. So they don't understand how you link with people. They understand very well how you put out documents.
Well, I mean, I hear that, right? And I mean, that's all well and good, but I think this is where your media people come in and your reporting comes in to help break that down, to help people understand. And which is also where CARICOM needs to have its own communication unit, for example, which can also break those. Well, then it needs to function and break those things down so that the ordinary people can understand.
No, they just pass them out the same way.
Wait a minute, Jerry. Those news releases that George talking about, is the communications unit at CARICOM they come from?
That's right.
Yeah, well, you know, they need to, well, I mean, it still comes back down at the end of the day to a reporter being able to translate it.
I think we
Beverly,
have
Beverly, Margaret, I tend to agree with you to an extent, but let me tell you, some of that stuff is so blah. I just don't think it's able to capture the attention of our audiences. And we in the Caribbean here, we have a tendency not to, they say we're not readers. I was arguing with somebody today that that's a fallacy, that we're not readers here in Grenada because everybody's on Facebook. And the person said to me, George, on Facebook, them ain't reading, them watching video and playing games. Everybody's on their smartphone, you know? And you think they're reading. They're not. They're watching videos and playing games.
Well, I mean, you know, I think people read. It all depends on what they read, and I don't think that's different to people anywhere in the world. Most people in the world don't read that stuff anyhow.
Look here, John is saying right now on Facebook, he says, George, the EU is no different. You know, there's just a disconnect between government and the populace.
Yeah, I hear that, and I still maintain that your media bridges that gap.
Should bridge that gap.
Yeah,
it should bridge that gap.
Yeah,
but
I think
don't we have it all wrong? Don't we have it all wrong? I mean, should the effort be in the direction of having the media or whoever else, you know, find a way to present, you know, policies or decisions or communiques from CARICOM in a way, in a language, in a format that people can understand? This is wrong. It is. I would say it is about. We should be about making sure that those people who end up in these institutions, i.e., government and the regional institutions, we should be spending time teaching them how to understand what the people are saying.
And that's what the politicians say.
RT, you have.
Because they don't.
RT, you're making a very valid point there, and I want to add something to that. RT, how often do you hear of donations being made to the media to help them perform better? RT, you hear of donations to police, you hear of donations to hospital, you hear of donations to this, that, and the other. RT, we scrunting.
But George, I don't want no donation. I'm thinking about sponsorship. Like, for example, right now in St. Vincent, when the carnival season, there have been a myriad of fets. And every time you sit up, you look, you see all of the institutions. You see them like they're running risks to sponsor all of this bad behavior and wild carrying on. But you cannot get, you went and talked to those same people. You know, the first thing they tell me all the time, All you see is deal with politics.
Well, I don't buy
I don't know
that.
how you speak with, how do you deal with news and not deal with politics? I don't know.
I don't believe that, because what do you think are getting the large numbers out there? There are stations out there that are totally political, but they have the sponsors.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Absolutely right. But no, those are the excuses that they use when they don't want, when you hit them with a topic. Because I've been in the heart of it, so I know.
Why would a politician sponsor a sector or a group or an organization to do something that would unseat him?
Exactly.
Well, I guess you're right.
Exactly.
But I'm not talking about the politicians, I'm talking about the businesses.
Yeah, the businesses.
Yeah, the businesses, yeah, they wouldn't, I mean,
the same
it's
thing.
not in their self-interest to sponsor somebody that would, you know.
But it would be in the self-interest of the businesses to spend time creating a more informed, educated, and alert.
They're not interested in that, no. It's easier to get people to jump up.
No, I mean, altruistically, yes, Athy, but in a capitalist society where capital is the driving force, I really don't care.
Exactly.
The most successful corporations today have actually spent time creating or changing the minds of their consumers about their products, not about
their products. Exactly.
About their products, that's correct.
So the question is, what is the product about which minds need to be changed in the Caribbean? One of them is how to reduce poverty. One of them is to how to, add value and give value to things local, whether it be cultural, wellness or health or one. These are the products that are not addressed at CARICOM meetings. So it would be futile to spend time interpreting a CARICOM communique in language that the ordinary man and woman of the street would understand, because they're not talking about the product that has any relevance to the people and their livelihoods. And so I'm saying it's a multiple error to depend on somebody to finance you to do something that's going to bring about their demise, and to try to finance ourselves to do things, to interpret messages that have actually no meaning for the people who we serve or the people who we try to serve. And people.
No, because Ati, you're making such a good point, because every time I look at the subject matters that have been discussed at heads of government for years, I must see 3 or 4 of them, I think, or 4 or 5 of them. And you ask yourself, who determines the agenda? Because in many instances, there are issues that the broad society out there is discussing, but they never make it to the top of the agenda for a heads of government meeting. Even sometimes in the midst of when the heads of government meeting come on, there are some touchy topics that are out there. You know what people are saying because it's out there, it's on social media. They never, ever, ever touch it. So they don't want to deal with the issues of the people.
But what did Atty say before? Because to deal with those issues will end up in their demise. So it's about their survival. So it's not in their interest to deal with those issues. So for example,
we should deal with them.
Poverty was not one of the things that came up in the speeches that I heard, which is one of the issues that Atty mentioned, and which is an issue. But at that level, poverty was not one of the things that they saw as important. Security was. Climate change and accessing funds was. How to put the structures in place. I'm telling you, how to put the structures in place that would make it easy for them to get whatever.
And that's it. It's about them getting money from climate change, because they know there's a ton of money. Like one time there was a lot of money in AIDS. So there was a whole lot of things happening.
Listen, since last year, during the election campaign, the current Prime Minister announced he was...
Which Prime Minister?
I said the current Prime Minister, when he was campaigning.
Of Grenada?
Yes, the one in Grenada. There is over $130 million that's already in the country for water projects. He listed the projects, he listed how much money is going to each one. And it's more than a year and a half, going 2 years now. And I have not heard one of those projects even being talked about. No, nothing has started under that. And he said the money was here. And you know why I remember it so vividly is that he said, this is no wild manifesto promise. You know? And up to now, I don't understand what is happening, why we haven't seen any of those projects started as yet. And yet, we're running behind these meetings, talking about more money for more climate smart projects. It makes sense.
There's some really terrible omissions from the agenda of our region. If you listened to the BBC News about 4 days ago, you'd have read a report or heard a report that England is going to run out of water in 25 years.
Yeah.
You'd have heard a report that India, 41 cities of India have already run out of water. Right?
Well, actually, yeah, I just saw that pop up here, that it may become a place where people can't live because it's too hot.
That's right. So, and you put that in our situation. You look at the water imports, the bottled water imports of the English-speaking Caribbean. And you begin to understand that we are already in a net deficit situation in terms of our dependence on imports to meet our water needs. And
well, why are we importing that amount of water? It always shocks me.
That is not, you see, it's about class and status and pretending to be who you're not. And it's about not worrying about the pollution that you're creating in a tiny island because you're improperly disposing of a plastic bottle. But I make that point only to say that really, when was the last time we really reviewed the Caribbean's agenda?
Does the Caribbean have an agenda, Ati?
Well, it used to. I remember when Willie DeMass would make his speeches as president of the CDB, he always projected very clearly what you could extract as, okay, here's one vision of an agenda for the Caribbean. When he produced that booklet on the OECS, you know, he projected, he captured what I think was a very valid vision. But when last was this done? When did we even revisit these visions and say irrelevant, partially relevant, you know, totally relevant? You know, in other words, you guys are talking about templates for communiques, but we have templated the entire society. We have templates for everything. And so there's no creativity. Even music has been templated. So it's beginning to sound the same throughout the region. There's no, if you will, island uniqueness to the Grenada sound or the Vinci sound or the Antigua, you know. So please, you know, it seems to me, you know, that if we're trying to pick our way through a role for ourselves and we are not prepared to sort of turn everything on its head and say, look, it looks better that. And there's nothing wrong with starting all over again, you know. It's a beautiful song.
True.
And so it really goes to see people. I mean, I'm looking, you guys might be able to see this. Can you see this? Can you see this?
Yeah, building resilience in Dominica.
But you know what it is? It's building resilience. You have a few pictures of an elderly person and some children, and the entire rest of the thing is about buildings. In other words, resilience has become, you know, synonymous with building things, as opposed, and this is Dominica, as opposed to, you know, building and reforming and transforming a mindset, a way of doing things, a behavior pattern, and so forth. So it's just about buildings. And that brings me to Jerry's observation some weeks ago about why is Caribbean News now constantly projecting a Dominica response to a regional problem of housing, when in fact we don't have a response to a local problem of housing. We've taken people from their fully resilient homes and put them in apartment buildings in an area that was just hit by a Category 5 hurricane. And we think that's resilience because we built something new. So the agenda is wrong. And as long as it's like you fly in a plane and you plotted the wrong course, you're going to end up in the wrong place.
Yeah.
So,
but I think the other side of that coin is the fact that I think in the Caribbean, what is our biggest problem right now, we have too many people in positions and influence who have been there for too long, who have no interest in looking at what the world is, where it's at, because it doesn't suit them. And sadly, these are the people holding back our Caribbean society.
Well, sadly,
plain, straight, and simple.
Forever. They would like to be there forever.
Oh, absolutely. But no, the Prime Minister, your Prime Minister says he's willing to just pack it in and go.
Well,
Did nobody laugh? Nobody laughed?
He said that twice before.
No, again, listen, I don't even like to waste time on this program talking about some of the things that these people say.
I know. I agree.
Yeah, they have proved themselves to be just plain waste of time. Yeah.
But Bev, your fixation on the need to resuscitate and revive, non-governmental civil society movements in the Caribbean, it's in my view absolutely on target, absolutely off the agenda, not on the screen of the regional, but it's exactly what needs to be on the agenda, and that a significant effort to be made. I'm working on that with regards to persons on the agenda on the environment, because we used to have a very vibrant regional and NGO arrangement on the environment through the Caribbean Conservation Association and its affiliate organizations and members. It's dead. It doesn't exist. It doesn't operate. At a time when it's most needed, it's not there. So we need that. Look at women. Look, where are the organizations of women in confronting all these issues of gender and abuse and this and that? So if you go down that list of the real people's agenda, and it will reveal exactly what Bev has been telling us. We need to prevent the political parties from taking over that agenda again, because they took it over and they destroyed it.
Mm-hmm.
And the people have to regain, have to get it back and protect it.
Because someone who is looking to get into one of the parliaments and at the NGOs, and they see people, and they immediately begin to think, how can I influence all these people to vote for me?
Yeah.
And once that commingling begins to happen, the NGOs just forget why they are there, just like how the media has forgotten why it's there.
Yeah. Money is a hell of a thing, man. Money is not the root of all evil, It's the abusive use.
Yeah.
Manipulative use of money is really what.
Yeah. And it is proven. I keep going back, and we keep talking about it, and it's not going back. We keep looking forward to the day when we do not have political parties in our countries. People will step forward and be elected on their own merit because of who they are and because of what they bring to the table. Just this week, I learned that this system we're talking about is not far-fetched because it is what entails in the Channel Islands. And I really need to go and research that system and look at it and see how it works. People need to get up and be elected their own merit, not because you have a party behind you pushing you, because the party don't really care who they push. They push all kind of square pegs into round to the detriment of the country, to the benefit of a few. And they have enough people following this ridiculous system and not realizing that you are destroying the very
Bev,
that you claim to love.
Bev, I'm sure you know that a lot of the people out there who, as representatives, if they were to go out on their own personal campaign, could never make it.
Yes, and that is why they need to stay where they are and let people take it on their own campaign, be elected. You know, because quite frankly, whether in Grenada or St. Vincent or Dominica or St. Lucia or St. Kitts or Antigua, a lot of these people who sit in the parliament should not be there. They bring nothing to the table, nothing.
And they cannot be.
And these are the people you expect to lead and to shape and to direct something. It's not going to happen. Keep going backward. We keep going backward. 50 odd years of what we call independence. And we still have no direction. We still don't know where we're going because we keep doing the same thing the same way. So we end up getting the same results. It's just...
Well, you can't get another result for sure.
No, it's just not working. Look at this system now. This week in Grenada, they announced uniform assistance program for school. You know, and when you hear these things, you know, it just...
Assistance for what, Bev? I didn't hear.
Uniform assistance program for students, you know, going back to school. Yes. Now, they again, you have elected officials coming out and boasting alongside public servants how we've expanded this group of poor people, because once upon a time it was just for primary and secondary schools, and now we've expanded it to preschools, you know, and we jump up and celebrate and behave as if we're doing something wonderful when we're creating more poor people.
Mendicancy.
Yes.
That's what it is.
You know? And after all the elaborate talk, you know, you hear they get these vouchers that they go and redeem, and the vouchers per child. Pre-primary child get $50. Primary get 100, and the secondary get 100.
So much, what that money could do today? What could that money do today? Seriously.
You know, and when they talk about all the systems that have been put in place to ensure that you can only get what the vouchers say you can get, and to ensure that no household gets more than $450. So it doesn't matter the configuration, but your household can't get more than $450. And all of these things to avoid duplication. Pay $50 vouchers, you know. And I wonder if people have no shame, you know. People have no shame. I would have preferred dead and go in the grave before I go behind politicians and go beg $50.
$50.
Mm-hmm. $50, $100, $150. And this is something to have big press conference and to celebrate and to make presentations at the vouchers.
When you do that,
every one of them from top to bottom should be ashamed of themselves.
Listen to me. When you do it like that, another group over here is going to get jealous and it's going to do the same thing. And when the other people watch this group over here, the other group over here is going to get jealous and want the same
talking
thing.
About jealous, I am getting to the worst part, where distribution of these school supplies paid for with taxpayers' money is being done in party constituency of...
Yeah, absolutely. That's the point. The whole point, as I said.
It's announced as if it is normal. The member of parliament is going to be assisting with the distribution. Why? Why out here giving people $50 voucher? Celebrating mendicancy and poverty, and we think it's something nice because we have to have big news conference 10 o'clock in the morning, invite media houses to come and cover it. And when I look on these things, oh my goodness, man, I don't know what player. We could not be descendants of slaves. We descend from something else. Because my foreparents were warriors and fighters and people with pride and ambition. Not this lot.
What's up? $50. Yeah,
$50.
Got to be joking.
You go into a store and you know, I think it was the minister who said it's not really to provide everything they need, you know, because you can't provide all the needs. It's just to offer assistance. So you have your child going to school, you get your $50 voucher. you're going some store to go redeem it. You get a skirt or a khaki pants, a pair of shoes. I don't know, boy.
And you don't have the money to wash the khaki pants and anything. You don't have the money to do that either.
No.
And that assumes the store is taking your voucher too, right?
Right.
Well, they have the vendors who they would have pre-selected and would have pre-agreed. So when you get your voucher, you know exactly which store to go to, although not a story market. Because sometimes some of the stores feel like they give away too much and they stop collect voucher and all the drama with the vouchers every year. But I don't know why we continue to celebrate poverty, to celebrate begging, to celebrate handouts, instead of using the resources that we have as people and as countries to build and lift ourselves out of poverty. There will always be poor people, you know, and some people are going to stay poor because they want to stay poor. But in general, people this standard of life, this standard of living, but opportunities have created. And we have created a lot of lazy people in society. People who just sit down and expect handouts, who just wait for their 50 voucher. You know, and I don't know if people can live like that. I really don't know how people can live like that. And when you have officials, elected officials and public officials who come and sit down and have big press conference to announce like handing out $50, $100 voucher to help parents go back to school. Yeah, I don't know. I find it disgraceful. I find it embarrassing. And who handing out the voucher and who receiving the voucher should be so ashamed of themselves. They should never make it happen again this year. Never. No. Some 12,200 students will benefit, you know? I mean, these are not the type of programs and policies that really seriously to assist the people in the country who are poor and vulnerable and in need. That's not how you assist people. I think them poor.
No, but it's the poor people who will continue to support you, Beverly. You need to keep that vote. You need to keep them loyal.
Man. Yeah, and you do it with $50 voucher.
Yeah, $50.
Paid for by taxpayer money,
exactly.
but distributed to political party office.
Once they get access to power, they have a right to anything that is there.
To do what they want.
Yep.
You don't have to obey laws. You don't have to abide by whatever the rules and regulations say. It's like Alan Chastany got up in his parliament and told the speaker to his face, I will not withdraw. Do what you want.
What?
Yes.
Yeah, man.
He said what?
He told the speaker to his face. The speaker asked him to withdraw a statement. And he told the speaker he's not withdrawing the statement. And he sat down in his seat and told him,
do what you want.
Do what you want.
And the speaker didn't.
And the speaker continued the sitting at the house as if nothing happened.
Really?
But having said that,
Yes.
having thrown out somebody previously for something exactly the same offense. And anybody want to tell that we should take our institutions seriously and really think about it?
Yeah, but
if that speaker was a real person, that speaker would have said, okay, he would have adjourned, tendered his resignation, and leave the house without a speaker.
Only Jerry Judge will do something like that.
But you don't have these kind of people anymore.
No. You mean people with integrity, Afi?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
No. Or honorable people are some of the most dishonorable people you can find.
Sure.
Yeah. So,
but I was waiting for a comment from Margaret about the 4th of July. I mean, the military parade and so on and so on. on. I mean,
If she has any tanks rumbling by.
yeah.
Oh no, they're rumbling far from me. But
What about the
Oh,
flyover?
in Washington. No
The red
flyovers, no red arrows.
huh?
No flyovers.
No flyovers. We do our own thing here in New York with me.
All right.
I know, but this guy, I don't know. He went to France, he saw a military parade, and he decided that he
And he
must
liked
have a
it.
parade too.
We liked it.
And he was going to get a parade come hell or high water.
So he's a red kid in a candy store. Then, mommy, mommy, I want one too. Yes, I want one.
It's true. It's very, very true. And I think the thing about that is that I think world leaders and countries around the world realize that he likes that kind of pomp and ceremony. And if you notice, most of them have been stroking his ego with those pomps and ceremony type events. And whenever they do that, they get him to capitulate to whatever they want.
Yes. So next year you may just get a North Korea 4th of July.
Yeah. In spite of what everybody says, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to be speaking to the North.
No,
absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think sometimes this idea that the U.S. has of walking softly and carrying a big stick, they need to realize that big sticks don't always work.
No.
You sometimes catch more flies with honey than with vinegar.
No, but remember, when Barack Obama was president and he said that he would meet with Kim Jong-un and the rest of them, he was lambasted. He was tarred and feathered and run down Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
But back then, I didn't think it was a bad thing, and even now, I don't think it's a bad thing because all of these stupid wars going on around the world, they need to stop. And
well, you need to have wars because somebody has to sell arms.
Well, I'm about to say the wars need to stop, and the people need to find other ways of making money.
So the people who always fought wars suddenly found a way and another place to fight the wars and still achieve the same ends. They've just shifted it from their turf onto another person's turf.
That is what happens,
Where in the States is this statue or this figure of beating a sword into a plowshare? Where?
I don't know.
Huh?
No, I don't think it's New York. I'm not sure where it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was an ideal. That doesn't Trump.
We wanted to look at another event happening in Grenada that I think the region should keep its eye on, and it's the war between the government of Grenada and the public electricity company called Grenlec. But I realize we do not have a lot of time. George, do we have any comments on Facebook you wish to share with us?
Pretty much comments that were made earlier on about what you guys were talking about. John, for example, was asking if there are so many people requiring assistance in Grenada. How can the country be on the rise? How can the country be on the rise economy-wise? Claude Pudna says, poverty is prosperity in Grenada. Ask our so-called ministers, Mr. D, Miss P, Miss M, and the PM. Yeah.
No, I'll respond to the question, and if there are so many people needing us, how can we say the economy is on the rise? We talked about it here on Mek We Chat before. The economy is doing well at the top with CBI and with the other types of investments that only people at the top enjoy. There's no rural economy. The people at the lower end, for want of a better description, people at the lower end of the society do not have an economy. So when you see the reports about the 5% growth It's not growing for you and me. It's growing for the people who passports and involved in other types of activity that do not trickle down to the rest of the society.
Yeah.
So all the talk of prosperity and economic growth, very true, but look at where it is growing, who is benefiting. But a large portion of the country. That is why you have 1,200 children in a population of 100,000, where you probably have maybe 40 or 50,000 children going to school, if that many. And about a third of them need to go and collect $50 and $100 voucher to assist them in getting them to go to school. It's pathetic. It really makes me angry to think that this kind of thing is happening.
Bev Sinclair, listen to this one now. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Disappeared. Oh. In St. Vincent, in a few weeks' time, they'll be announcing grass cutting. You hear what I tell you?
What?
Two times for the year, grass cutting jobs are given out. Christmas and now.
Yes.
And people go and cut jobs to get some money to send their children to school. And people accept it. That's the part that drives me crazy. You know what I've been seeing recently? Because in my area, I see a lot of it. These are people who come out of school, who have been out of school, young people in the past. Those jobs were for old people who were there. Now, young people, some of them who went to college are the ones taking those jobs because they want to get some money for Christmas or to send their child to school. And the society has come to accept that that's a norm. That's the best we can do. Twice per year. That's the only time grass needs cutting in St. Vincent.
Tell me, Jerry, please, that grass that you're cutting is composted and turned into a high-value product that is sold to home gardeners throughout the region.
That grass is cut and left on the side of the road in some place to clog up the drain. Because the point is, cut the grass. Because that's how we're going to hand the money to you, and we don't want to make it look like that's how we hand the money to you.
Well, in Grenada, those are counted as jobs, you know. And
right.
Every year when the statistics for jobs are done, we hear of all these jobs.
Yep.
But the National Insurance Scheme will still tell you that they're not collecting any money because these jobs that are being created, not generating anything for the NIS. You know, what is happening just don't make sense. It really doesn't make sense at all. And it seems like we're going to have to crash and burn before we even begin to realize that the train is off the track.
Oh.
2 minutes to go.
Guys, before we pull the plug, I want to take a second here to plug my upcoming Sunday program. You know, I'm one of those people concerned about the environment. And this week, a couple of tour operators who spend their lives, and have for many years, trying to show visitors to this island the beauty of the island and supposedly pure Grenada. They took me on a bit of a tour. We didn't cover the entire island, but we went up the east coast. These folks took me to parts of Grenada I have never been to in my life. And I came away with such a deep appreciation for the natural beauty that this island has to offer. But I walked away from it with very mixed feelings. Because when you see how people are degrading our environment, and you know, a lot of these spots are idyllic spots where you would go have a nice Sunday afternoon picnic or go sit and watch a sunset or whatever. People go out there and they dump their garbage. They leave all kinds of crap out there, and it has become so unsightly. It's in such direct contrast to the pure Grenada that we're promoting. Not only that, Let's assume you build a house, Artie. You know, when you're finished, you're going to have a lot of stuff laying around that you just don't want around your house, right? Now, we have a major dumping ground here called Perseverance. Rather than taking the leftovers and dumping it at Perseverance, we go to some of our beaches and dump this thing next to our beaches. It is pathetic to see the amount of ruin that has been just dumped indiscriminately. And we put together a package. Actually, we're in the process of putting together the package. We did the shooting, I think it was on Tuesday. And we're going to show that on Sunday morning. And we're going to have a discussion on the environment. So if you guys have a chance, join us.
What time is that, George?
That segment should start at 10:30 on Sunday morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
10:30, you said?
Yeah, 10:30. And I'll tell you one thing that stood out as well. You know, there's all this talk about the derelicts that are left on the side of the road. Alan and I have been talking about that on Good Day Grenada now for weeks. But I was appalled, and I captured video of a lot of cars and trucks and buses that have just been dumped, some in playgrounds, some on the side of the road. Some of them are even put up on stilts, elevator, you know. And you hear this talk about, you know, the Ministry of Health sending out letters. I'll give you an example. A few weeks ago, somebody sent me a video of a vehicle that was dumped on the side of the road. And on the side of that vehicle was a notice to the owner from the Ministry of Health saying, move, I'm paraphrasing here, move this away in 1 week or you're in trouble, okay? Folks, somebody saw that on my website, and the next day he came here to see me. He said, George, that vehicle is right in my neighborhood in St. David's. I said, oh yeah, how long has it been there? He says, well, I've been living here for 21 years, and and it's been there since. 21 years. And that vehicle has been there.
With a sign on it that says it should be moved in 7 days.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
But it didn't say 7 days when.
Exactly.
That's right.
The sad thing about that notice that it was on the side of the vehicle is that it's been obviously there for so long that, you know, rain has washed out the date that was written in. Because that's the first thing I wanted to see, the date on it, but that was washed out. The type is still there. You can read the type. Date is gone. Pathetic, guys. It's pathetic. The hypocrisy that permeates this place is just pathetic.
And these are things which take nothing more than public servants doing their jobs to get it done.
Yeah.
That is all it takes.
Look at that beautiful sight driving around the Lagoon Road, what it's now called Karani James Boulevard. A couple of years ago, there was all this brouhaha about the number of derelict boats that were just pulled up on the side there, okay? Man, they made a big fuss about that. Well, a couple of weeks ago, you probably saw the piece that I did. Those boats are now back. Or, well, I should say new boats have just been dumped there. And nobody's doing anything about it. But yet, we spend millions of dollars telling people, come to pure Grenada. You know, makes me want to regurgitate. It hurts. It hurts because not only is it a waste of money, but you're lying. You're lying to people to get them to come here.
You should make it possible for you to go to one of these overseas promotions and set up a booth right next door, right next to the Grenada booth.
Yeah, you're gonna fund that, Artie?
No, you don't need money to do that.
They just had a big shindig in New York, Gwen, two weeks ago.
Yeah. One of the CTO meetings, and you just get a Greenpeace type.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Margaret can find a Greenpeace person in New York.
No man, just contact the British correspondent. You will be properly organized.
You mean the British correspondent to the CTO?
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll be properly organized.
All right,
Or the
guys.
British sounding correspondent.
All right, guys. Let's just not lie to people. We're begging people to come here. Tell them the truth. Just don't lie to them. That's what hurts. Okay. Time to
Thanks,
say goodbye.
George.
Thanks
again
Gary.
for having us, and to all of you who are here. Still had a rocketing discussion tonight, as we always would, I'm sure. Thanks for joining us, to all those who joined with us and stay with us over the period.
Excuse
us
me.
again next week.
Excuse me. Did you say those of you who joined us?
Maybe I did. I'm not sure.
I think he did.
Maybe I did. I'm not sure. I realized I took some medication and
Yeah. Blame it on you.
No, so I will accept that I maybe said that, but they understood twice what I meant. Those who joined and who joined again.
Margaret, the fireworks still on?
It's done. Macy's is done, but the kids are still out in the park with theirs.
Yeah, right. When you saw me exit stage left a little while ago, I went to take a little peek at the fireworks. Yeah. By the way, there's a note that just came in here from somebody named Claude. Claude says, Mr. Grant, the 7 days means 7-day Adventist.
I see what you're wrong. They should have gone on Saturday. Okay,
Goodbye, people.
Goodbye, everybody. So long.
All right.